All right, we've got some breaking news out of college hoops where Kansas has fallen out of the AP poll for the first time since 2021. It ends an 80-week streak in the top 25 for the Jayhawks. Kansas has lost 2 of its past 3 games, including defeats to Utah and BYU. The Jayhawks will look to bounce back later tonight when they take on Colorado in Boulder. Getting a look at the rest of the top 10, Auburn, of course, remains #1 for the 7th straight week after wins over Arkansas and Georgia. Florida and Duke flip-flop at #2 and 3. St. John's, they are up to #7 after beating UConn this past weekend at the Garden. It is the highest ranking for the Johnnies since 1991. And Michigan State finding their way back into the top 10, rising 6 spots after a big win over Michigan. Let's welcome in Matt Norlander as this AP poll just dropped. A lot of changes here, Matt, and the big one, Kansas is out. Of course, they beat Oklahoma State, but then lost to BYU before that. They drop out of the poll, just the 3rd time we're seeing that in the last 16 years. And we've been talking about this season being disappointing by Bill Self standards way before they dropped out of this poll, right? But how would you encapsulate this season as a whole for Kansas now that they are officially out of the top 25 and the roller coaster that it's been on the way here?
Yeah, just not to the Bill Self standard, obviously, and things are probably going to get bumpier before we get to the postseason. Kansas does have the game, a late tip, by the way, against Colorado on Monday, and then it's Texas Tech at home at Houston, and then Arizona, the only time those schools will meet this season in the regular season, the Wildcats and the Jayhawks. That's the home finale for Bill Self's program. So I think it's fair to expect at least 1 more loss before the postseason. Going 2-2 is entirely reasonable. 1-3 would be pretty alarming. I don't think that'll be the case, but it's not unthinkable because guess what? Texas Tech, Houston, and Arizona, they're all top 12 teams at KenPom. Bill Self does not have a group that, for the most part, has been able to really find some chemistry, some across-the-board investment. I have to believe that Self has been as frustrated as any season in his entire coaching career. We'll see if the Jayhawks can find a way to get it together, but if not, it looks like the trend will continue. Kansas has never made the Sweet 16, in which the same season it was ranked preseason #1. The Jayhawks were preseason #1 this season. Doesn't look like they've got Sweet 16 bona fides this year.
Yeah, so Kansas being out of the poll, that was a big headline there. And then, of course, St. John's now #7 as they just beat UConn at MSG. So it feels like sort of a new era in the Big East, Matt. This is the highest ranking for the Johnnies since 1991. How impressed are you with what Rick Pitino has been able to do in terms of where they're at in the Big East and really not a whole lot of time to turn around a program?
Yeah, Jacqueline, I was at the Garden on Sunday to witness this game, and St. John's has swept UConn in the regular season for the first time in 25 years. I noted in a column for CBSSports.com. You can read it right now on the CBS Sports app, in fact. You know, dominance in college sports is fleeting. It really is. It is something to see just how quickly UConn's reign over the Big East has dramatically slipped away, and now this is St. John's, which has not technically won the Big East yet. It is only a matter of time. This Johnny's next game is at Butler, and then they will host Seton Hall this weekend in their home finale. And to your question, Jacqueline, it's extremely impressive. I mean, this is why St. John's hired Rick Pitino, to make the program of top 25 quality, getting to the NCAA tournament, returning to national prominence. You know, I said this on HQ. I might have even actually said it with you, Jacqueline, about a month ago, but I'm going to repeat it now because although St. John's has been a noisy team that's been catching our attention, I just want to remind our viewers, it has truly been 25 years since St. John's actually mattered and was relevant and a prominent top 10, top 15 level team in the month of March. We're almost to March, and that is going to be the case. What Rick Pitino has done this season, to me, easily ranks among the 3 or 4 biggest stories in all of college hoops. It's an awesome thing to see, and although offensively they got some more work to do, defensively there's no doubt about it. They've got a championship level defense. I would put St. John's among my top 10 Final Four contenders right now.
Wow, okay. And of course, Duke, a lot of folks are talking about them being in the Final Four, and rightfully so, right? Because they have been dominant all season. They also played at MSG, and they beat a really good Illinois team by 43. Strength of schedule that has been discussed, has been thrown out there as, you know, a possible knock on Duke, and they kind of are just silencing all of those doubters by, you know, beating Illinois by 43 points, Matt.
Yeah, listen, Duke right now, although Auburn remains #1 in the AP Top 25, the unanimous #1, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the fact that at KenPom, which is ever referenced and a wonderful, wonderful analytical tool and has helped cultivate how we interpret college basketball and discuss and build narratives across the sport this season, Duke is comfortably by 2.5 points in efficiency margin ahead of Auburn right now. You mentioned the strength of schedule. It's definitely an issue. I mean, overall right now, Duke is ranked 52nd in strength of schedule at KenPom because of the ACC. Although Illinois wasn't an ACC team and they were able to step out, I was in the building for that as well. I was hoping for a competitive game, a really good game. It's just not what we got whatsoever. You see those metrics right there with the overall resume on Duke. It's right now easily cruising as a 1 seed. And what my takeaway from Saturday night, after handing Illinois its worst margin of defeat in the history of Illinois' program, which goes back 120 years, okay? Illinois had never lost by 43 points until Saturday night, is that Duke has returned to a true Goliath status in college basketball. It had that in the final years under Coach K. John Shire takes over year 1, year 2. Duke's a really good program. I mean, Duke's able to get quality seeds, almost got to the Final Four last year, but wasn't on that top tier. Wasn't seen as the big bad, if you will, in the sport. I think right now, with Cooper Flagg inevitably going to be the #1 pick, with where the Blue Devils are trending toward being a 1 seed in the East in less than 3 weeks' time on Selection Sunday, this is now a big-time team, and I think that is a good thing for college basketball because it will make Duke all the more intriguing to watch and make a lot of people root for Duke and make a lot of people root against Duke.
Yes, and Cooper Flagg, if you have someone like that, you always have a chance, right? Let's talk about Michigan State rising 6 spots to #8, coming off of a big win against Michigan. And Matt, this was a game that you were also at. What was your biggest takeaways from that performance that you saw there with Michigan State?
Yeah, it's wonderful to talk to you, Jacqueline, from my home office here. But yes, I did do quite the road tour over the past 4 or 5 days and was all too happy and humbled to get to take in a lot of good teams and a lot of good ball and talk to a lot of coaches. My thanks to all the coaches at all these games that were willing to talk afterward. Tom Izzo was one of them, and Michigan State was able to beat Michigan, and we got to talking about a few things, but the biggest thing was Jace Richardson. He's a freshman. He's the son of Jason Richardson, who famously was one of the more pronounced players, athletes, dunkers to ever come through Michigan State. And Izzo even told me on Friday night after Richardson had his second best game as a Spartan. The best one was against Oregon a couple weeks ago. Izzo said his father never even played this well in a single game against our hated rival in Michigan. I think Richardson has emerged to be the guy. Doesn't mean every single game Richardson's going to be Michigan State's best player. I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case. But Izzo told me my players know it. In that locker room right now, everyone knows and acknowledges and is comfortable with the fact that Jace Richardson is our premier go-to player. They've got Jaden Akins, Jeremy Fears, Jackson Kohler. They've got really good depth. Izzo told me that this team, in terms of being connected in the locker room, really is his best team in a long time, and it's given him some new life on coaching. But Richardson, they needed a go-to guy. On Friday at the Chrysler Center in a road game for first place for now in the Big Ten, Richardson stepped up. Keep that in mind. The three-point shooting is still an issue, but look at Tom Izzo doing it again, and it looks like Michigan State and Michigan, it's going to come down to those 2 teams for the Big Ten regular season championship. They will meet a second time in Breslin to end the regular season in 12 days.
Ooh, that's going to be must-see TV. I never count out Tom Izzo. I literally put Michigan State to the Sweet 16 like every year, no matter what it looks like in the regular season, because I don't bet against Tom Izzo. Let's talk about BYU, because they were not ranked. Now they're coming in at number 25 in this latest AP Top 25 poll after some big wins over ranked opponents. Are they kind of hitting their stride at the right moment, Matt?
Yes, BYU was a team that in the preseason I thought would have a chance to be in this spot at this point. And I'm not, by that I don't mean like ranked 25th in the country. I mean comfortably in the tournament, having gotten the job done. But the road to get there has actually been interesting because they had some injuries early. They took some weird losses. They floated outside the tournament picture, and now they're getting back into it. If you're not aware, Kevin Young is the coach at BYU. He was a longtime assistant in the NBA, got some look at some head coaching positions, got some interviews, decided he wanted to go to college basketball to try and do this. and he's got a future lottery pick called Igor Demin, who has been a tremendous player, has been awesome. You see the resume here, but in addition to the resume, I just want to, Richie Saunders and Igor Demin, they're combining to average about 27 points a game. Demin's just an awesome point guard here. BYU has tapped into some real potential to be a team. We'll see what seed line it ends up on. Could be a 6, could be a 7, could be an 8, could be a 9, could be a 10. Really, it's next 2.5 weeks are really they could go in a number of ways. But I do think the talent and the coaching, the size and the experience makes for BYU to be an intriguing, like they're a true Elite 8 sleeper type right now, a deserving team in this week's AP Top 25, and certainly one of those teams that it is a trite cliche phrase, but truly hot at the right time and has been able to reverse course. There were a couple teams over the weekend that I thought were trending toward getting to the NCAA tournament anyway, but by getting a win on Saturday or Sunday, it clinched it. They've got room to lose. They're going to win some more. And BYU is one of those teams where we thought they were going, but by getting that win, controversially, I understand. There was a whistle that Arizona fans were not happy about to end that game. Regardless, BYU gets the win, and doing so becomes a close to, not an outright lock, but close to a lock. They're going to be in the NCAA tournament in 3 weeks.
Matt, we certainly appreciated diving into the latest AP Top 25 poll and also being somewhat of a therapy session for me when I'm complaining about the Florida Gators. It was a little tight against LSU in the first half there. So we appreciate it, Matt. And the conversation continues on the Eye on College Basketball podcast with Matt Norlander and Gary Parrish. You can download, follow, listen wherever you find your favorite podcast, or you can scan that QR code that you're seeing on your screen right now. And Selection Sunday is going to be here before we know it. The Selection Show coming your way Sunday, March 16th at 6 p.m. Eastern. You can catch that again on CBS and, of course, streaming on Paramount Plus.